Tucson, Piedmont, and Sonoran Desert Railroad, a 120 scale railroad based in southeastern Arizona. It goes from Douglas on the Mexican border up to Klondike in the White Mountains. We've been working on it for about 10 years. This is the third track plan. Yeah, I do most of the railroading and Mary does the gardening. It's all battery powered, radio control. There's no power on the track at all. I just didn't want to go laying wires all over the place. Turns out that I ended up running some air tubes for some of the switches, but I thought that going with battery power would be much more convenient. And I like the idea of having an engine that just runs by itself and you don't have to worry about blocks and things like that. So, hey, all the structures on the building, except I think 3 of them, are scratch built, all to 120 scale. Exactly. Pretty close.
Painfully close sometimes.
The buildings are mostly things that you would find in southern Arizona. I've got some buildings from here in Tucson. I've got a model of the Tombstone Fire Station, the Pierce Pepper Pool, a grain elevator. Cascabel Milling is a big industrial factory building. There are some offices, the freight station and passenger station are new. They're also a 120 scale. They're not any particular prototype. They're just made to look like a southwestern train station. So things that you might find on the Southern Pacific or one of those railroads. The TP and SD has a color scheme. It's sort of a cream and blue color scheme. So all the buildings you'll find will be that are owned by the railroad are sort of cream colored with blue trim. And you can see it on the station windows and the water tower. All of those are done. The water tower and sand house are both from Chama. I happened to be up there and took a lot of pictures of their sand house and water tower, so I took a bunch of films and made them into models. All the rolling stock is 120 scale. I still have some 122.5 stuff, the older Bachmann stuff that I've been working on and swapping out essentially to get all to 120 scale. All the engines are 120 scale right now. Yeah, I've had a couple of open houses. I've been on our club runs a Rails in the Garden tour each year, and I've been on that twice. And I've had the club meetings here a couple of times. So we've had as many as 600 or 800 people come through in a weekend on the Rails in the Garden tour.
You know, I've been amazed how wonderful the people have been. Out of both tours, I think there's been like one tiny little paper wrapper for a candy left. It's all the trash. Almost nothing is ever broken. Occasionally the kids will, he does the worst damage.
Yeah, I fell down and crushed a gallows turntable the last time we had it and just destroyed it. It's still not back together, so.
It's been a real treat to have all those people here.
People have been really nice. It's been really good fun having the people here. No, I wouldn't say that, but start small. Don't get too much too fast. And you know, look at what you have in terms of your yard and where you're going to put things. Don't try and use the whole yard. Our layout used what used to be a dog run and the side part of the yard over there, and you know, it's big enough to do some interesting things. It's not so big that you can't keep up with the maintenance. And you know, I generally, just before a open house or something, I spend a week or so getting everything ready. And in between, I don't run very much because I work full time.
Hi, I'm Jim Cook. This is my wife Madeline. Welcome to the C&S Railroad, also known as the Caliche and Saguaro Railroad.
Those who don't know what caliche is, it's concrete when it's dry. It can be almost like sand when it gets wet. But all the trees and everything that you see on our layout were put in with a jackhammer.
We got started when we first moved to Tucson in 2002. We had been in HON. Madeline was in HON3. And we got down here and went to a home show and saw a garden railroad. And so we immediately changed scale. We had the wall built, and we started to work and work and work.
Then we started with our first rock pile and tunnel, and the railroad was flatter than a pancake. And we finally had someone to come in and save our backs and do some of the raised rock work that was done in the back of us here and give it a little bit more dimension. And then we put in more lines. Jim's the engineer.
We've got about 850 feet of track. Track power is all wireless, controlled through the track. We tried batteries and didn't particularly care for it, so we switched back again. We have three somewhat interconnected loops, so we don't have any chances of cornfield meets. We have a trolley, the mine train. That's about it. We've got 4 locomotives. A lot more cars than we really could use at any given time. Madeline makes all the buildings. How many?
There's over 90. They're about half are kit built, and 30% are probably done by scratch, and a lot of putting kits together and kit bashing. Headstone instead of tombstone, it's a film studio like old Tucson, and you will find all kinds of buildings that you would find in the movie studio. The Star Hotel has all of the old movie stars from The Lone Ranger and Tonto, Buffalo Bill. It has John Wayne, of course. My hero is Hopalong Cassidy and Topper are there, Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, you name it, they're there. And you'll go to shootouts, they're holding up the bank, there's a film crew taking a picture of the shootout. There's a stagecoach being held up and they're filming that also. And they're also filming at the railroad station. I have a sneaky suspicion that the family didn't like the daughter's choice of boyfriend. He was a cowboy, so they're sending her out of town to school. So there's a lot going on. There's a bath tent, there's Chinese laundry, there's Faith Church, Hope School, and Charities is the bordello. It all begins there. It's their motto.
Yeah, we've got, in addition to the track, we've got a number of bridges that we've had people make for us. The trestle behind us started out as a wood bridge, wood trestle, same size and shape, but it didn't last too long in the Arizona summer, and it began to deteriorate, so we replaced that one with steel. It's 15 long and it's curved and goes uphill. And so it's we've enjoyed it. It runs pretty well.
We also have 3 waterfalls. They probably all leak at one time or another, so we call them leaky falls, like the, what is it, the archaeologists or anthropologists in Africa.
She does all the buildings. I do the track and the cars, and anything that moves is what I do. And we have an arrangement on the garden part of Garden Railroad. She designs it, she figures out what goes where, marks them, and I go dig in the hole and plant them.
Yes, The first time they had the Garden Railroad tour here in Tucson, we had 10 people helping us with the parking and everything else. And they teased me and said, well, how many do you think we'll get? And I said, well, if we get 40 the first day, I think we'll be really lucky. And at the end of the second day, we'd had 900 people. And we were just stunned. There's such an interest, there really is. But 900 people going through, and they're so well behaved. The kids are so good. It really is a thrill.
Good day. Welcome to Grandpa Choo-Choo's Railroad. Let me give you a quick little history on how it was named. My 3-year-old grandson, when he moved here from California to Arizona, used to call my house Grandpa Choo-Choo's house. He was about 3 years old at this time. And consequently, we came up with the name Grandpa Choo-Choo's Railroad. The railroad, as you see it today, has been in conception for about 4.5 years. That 4.5 years, there's been a lot of building and a lot of changes in the railroad from when it first started. We started out with the initial part of the railroad being in the room which we are sitting in right now, which is a 20 by 30 foot room. That room was going to be the railroad. As things always change, we added a few additions, and it was built in actually 4 steps to this time. The first step being this room, which is 20 by 30 feet, has 3 main lines and a yard running down the center of the room. The second phase, which was a little more daring for me because I cut a few holes in the walls, like 4, we put the overhead structure in, which was built by Dan of Eagle Wings, and we added it over a couple of Saturdays, and from there we have grown even on that. The third section was the 2 reversing loops, which required 2 more holes in the wall, and we added those about 1.5 to 2 years ago. The last section that we have added to the railroad is actually the overhead Chicago L-type trolley system, which runs about 16 inches above the main board and which did not require any additional holes. The layout itself is all G scale except for an HO train, which is in the park. It's kind of like a kid's toy, a kid's ride in a railroad park. The tracks are all powered by LGB's multi-train system. The streetcar is powered by DC power with a reversing unit, and there's about 1,000 feet of track actually in this total layout. This layout is about 1,260 square feet on the second floor of the house and encompasses every room on the second floor except for 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, which was at my wife's request. She figured the guests would not like to have a train going through their room. It took nearly 4 years to construct it to this point, and I'm sure there will be additional constructions because they're already talking about them as of this time. The layout is based
roughly in the mid-1920s. There's no definite 10-year era in the railroad. I'm kind of one of these people, when I see something that I like to buy it. I like something like the old stuff more than some of the modern stuff. Oh, this railroad is about 99% LGB. There's 17 engines. There's 100 freight cars. There's 17 passenger cars and 1 streetcar. Everything in this layout was built by my oldest son and myself, with the exception of the steel work, which was done by Dan, and the table, which I had somebody come up as a carpenter and help me do it so we could get it built in 2.5 days. I guess the last thing is that everybody always wonders, how does your spouse support you? Well, the one thing my wife wanted me to do when I retired 6 years ago was to have a hobby. And that was to have something to do rather than sit around and watch TV. And the idea was, for many, many years, was that my hobby would be the trains. And so consequently, I get full support on the trains. I think the only thing we can honestly say is I think it grew a little bit bigger than what she anticipated. But we all have fun with it.
Hey, I'm Dan Hogue, and this is my wife Patience, and we have the Wild Eagle Railroad, and my wife would like to tell you a little bit about how we got started.
My husband started with trains when he was a little kid, and that's how it got started. But we started with this outdoor layout in 1997. It started with this pond behind us. It was just a small pond with a little loop of track, and over the years it's grown and grown into something I think that's really unique. We've got a lot of greenery even here in the desert, so we're happy to tell you a little bit more about some of the different things that you'll see on the Wild Eagle Railroad.
Some of the things that we're doing now are, we started a whole new theme on our patio. We have 2 reversing units and we have an overhead, and we're trying to do it all European. So we're gonna have in our little trolley and our rack train that goes on our patio that goes up to our overhead. It's all going to be, of course, European themed, and we'll have little scenes and dioramas and all those. And so we are slowly but surely evolving that, and hopefully you liked it and will like it on the film.
I really like the European theme. I remember when we'd gone to different conventions, different places, and you know, some locales can get away with an alpine theme and some locales really can't. You know, because we are in the desert and it's kind of hard to build a Matterhorn and make it believable here. But putting the scene against the backdrop, you know, on a patio theme, it really is a lot of fun, and I think it's just charming, and it's a nice little respite from the desert scenery that you see out in the layout. So,
On our Garden Railroad, we have about 5 or 6 reversing units to help bring motion to the garden, and we're trying different kind of scenes, and we have a shelf layout over top of some of our yard and different things like that I know other people have done something like that too, but we're just trying different things, and hopefully you'll like it.
Something else that maybe I can just talk about just real quick is kind of Dan was talking about, you know, we try different things. If it doesn't work, we try something else, and I think that's something that we've done ever since we started this layout. Is if it doesn't work, we'll rip it up and we'll try something else. And as far as the greenery goes on the layout, it's kind of the same idea for me. Once I got started and I stopped being afraid of killing things, I became more bold and more easily convinced into experimenting with different colors and textures and just different ideas for making the layout more believable. So some of the plants that you'll see that I've trimmed up and tried to make into something that looks like a real tree is like the dwarf myrtle there in the background here. They grow really well in the heat. They do require a little more water than maybe some people would want to invest in. They kind of like a little bit of shade. They don't like a lot of direct sunlight, but boy, once you get them going and once you get them established, they really become a really nice tree for a desert kind of a layout. So trial and error, and if it doesn't work, try something else.
And some of the other things that we've done is we try to do different things that we're sort of interested in. Like I made up a dirt bike track on the layout, and we have I found some homies and stuff like that that are doing karate, so we put some people doing karate on it. So you just have to look around at all the different little scenes and see what's happening, and we try to make it so if you really hunt, you can really see all different things going. Like I rappelled in the Army, so I have some people rappelling, and I never bungee jumped, but I put some people on my... I'm rappelling all right, that's for sure. So, I mean, different little things like that, and just look around and enjoy it. And I guess, Patience, you want to talk about some of the buildings and stuff that we had problems with and so forth and so on.
Yeah, some people have, questioned how things work here. It's 120 degrees in the summer over a 4-month period of time. In the direct sunlight, it's really hard on any kind of structure. If it's a wooden bridge, if it's a, it's a kit bash building, if it's a plastic building or whatever. And because I'm like Godzilla in the garden, I tend to destroy things if I run into them with any kind of frequency, and I've ruined more buildings than I can count. So we're switching. Well, I did an excellent job mowing those people down, and you'll probably see some heads and arms back there if you look really close. But we're trying to get it, make it into an investment that's going to last, and so for the buildings that you can't bring in all the time, then transitioning some of them into something that will be more tolerant of the direct sun and of the intense heat and those kinds of things. So the different buildings that we have now are made of metal, and they will withstand, more abuse than whatnot. And if you do trip over them, we will know it. So it's just, we're just trying to think of ideas that will help. If you're struggling with certain issues in the desert, then that might be a solution for you. But really, the hobby is whatever you want it to be, and it's whatever your wallet will allow. So some people really enjoy making the buildings themselves and customizing them, and you can do whatever you want.